Let's talk a little about the Australians getting on board with defending the Lions. Because when you look at what happened against Fiji, you do wonder, Brenner, whether they're going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. But then that's nothing to take away from the Fijians. Like, they probably should have won that game. If Harry Wilson doesn't score that try, then it's really tail between your legs in terms of what the Australians did going into a test match against the Lions. But look, I think Jip's probably going to go a little bit deeper on this, but I talked around it last week around just their defence. Now, I think it's one area where I think they're going to have to improve massively, because with the way the Lions are attacking at the moment, and probably a little bit different in wet conditions and against the Waratahs, but with how flat they do play, with the amount of block plays and people that ask questions, whether it's nice and tight, whether it's out on the edge, even their scrum and their line out attack, they ask a lot of questions. So defensively, I just think that's one area where they're going to have to be able to be a lot better. And I think the counter-attack of the Fijians on the weekend, geez, any chance they had through the counter-attack or kind of a lost ball, they were able to really pounce on that. And I think the Lions have shown that as well. They want the ability to be able to score tries off counter-attack. You look at probably Mac Hansen and James Lowe in that Reds game, I believe, when they were able to score points off that. So I think defensively, one big effort in terms of what they need to improve is probably that, and Jip's probably go a little bit deeper as to why.
Yeah, look, I just was surprised with some of the defensive aggressiveness is probably what I'd say. Like, Fiji are a big forward pack, big back line, strong ball carriers. I get it, okay? And if I can remind everyone around the dominant carry stat and where it normally sits for you to have a clinical game was the Chiefs versus Moana Pacifica. They were about 36% in that game, and we saw how that can impact and how clean you can attack off the back of it. Fiji were at 38.5%. Against the Wallabies. Like, not only was the carry, but the clean was vicious, and the ball was 77%. It was lightning quick ball. That's so high. Yep. Like, that is, like, the fact that they didn't score more was probably a credit to the scramble D of the Wallabies, and or I suppose skill execution of the Fijians, probably just pushing things a little bit too hard. But if I use the Rayasi try just before the break, there are 4 Wallaby defenders almost backpedaling, and for people that don't know, we call it jockeying in rugby speak, but you're basically backpedaling to use the sideline as your friend, to then once you get one-on-one, you go for the kill. They were backpedaling, and Rayasi had 4 Wallaby jerseys in front of him and somehow scored. Like, not once did their mindset go, right, we've got 4 of us, let's just carry him out. But they held off, then he bet 1, bet 2, try. So that concerned me in the sense that, man, are they not reading the pitches, or are they just worried about his hot feet? Or I'm not too sure. Like, he's good, but to beat 4 defenders that press hard on you is going to be extremely hard to do, and probably force you into a kick and or a loose offload. And it just got the sense that the Lions are going to play. Yep. They need to sort this out. And they need to be able to bring a presence defensively that allows them to pressure some skills, because they just didn't do that on the weekend, and it nearly cost them the game. Had the TMO not been as sharp as he was, Fiji win that game. Yeah. And then they're in real trouble. So I think there's that element defensively, and then 12 entries, 3 times. Coming away with points is, if they are to beat the Lions, you're going to need to be around that 6, 7, potentially 8, if you're going to get that many opportunities in the 22. So just a little bit of inaccuracy, and maybe it's just, they haven't had a lot of time to prepare, and, maybe not confident in the systems, but I just wasn't expecting it. I don't know, I was really excited for Sunday afternoon. I was like, this will be really interesting, to probably work out how this Lions tour is going to go. Joe Schmidt did say, potentially, they've all had their eyes, not him, obviously, because he's not like that, but maybe the players, they were watching, the super squads during the week, and maybe, their full focus wasn't on Fiji and maybe looking to what's next rather than what's in front of them now.
Yeah, probably disappointing that is their last hit out before they are going to see the British and Irish Lions.
That's crazy in itself, isn't it?
It is, and a
few injuries.
You're going to be not nervous, but I mean more so it's probably actually a good stake in the ground for them, knowing that we're actually probably not where we need to be. So, you know, they'll be able to work and be able to go through combinations and training, but you just don't get, you need to be able to get that feeling. Like, yeah, I've probably seen with the British Irish Lions, like, they're playing so many games, so many guys are going to be able to get the combinations right. Now, I get that Joe Smith's been there for a couple of years, for a year or so, a year and a half, and been able to have the nucleus of the players that you'd like to think that have played and had those conversations collectively, coaches and players and management. But yeah, I think for them, they'll be reviewing pretty hard, and I guess, you know, the British Irish Lions are here, but we're going to have to be a lot better with the things that Jip touched on, the defensive pressure that they need to be able to put on this Lions team. Because if you look at that Reds game in the early part of the week, geez, when Finn Russell is flat out the line and they're getting very quick ball, they're going to be very, very hard, and they're going to have a field day against the Australians.
But their skill set to read defence as well. Like, I want to highlight the try before halftime by Van der Merwe against the Reds, because Jamison Gibson-Park switches back blindside, hits the second attacker, so there's blindside flankers inside, hits the second attacker. They hold their feet. Like, this is just like a perfect example of simple rugby will always win if against a defence that's not quite, you know, on the job. They hit that second defender, runs a nice inside line, like a genuine inside line that holds that defence, and then they just catch and pass. Boom, square hips, bang, catch and pass. Try in the corner. Like, simple things done well, but then they can have the Finn Russell. And that's the thing that they need to be worried about is this Lions team can skin you. It is the best of the best. Through you, around you, do the simple things, and their ability to read defences and make the right decision is second to none. And I think that try is a perfect example of, if you're passive defensively, they will just whip you off.
And I think as well, they want to hold on to the ball. Now, whether that's what they're going to do through the Test match series, maybe they might have that little bit less in terms of the pass and the way they do hold on the ball. I think they do have the ability to have the adjustments in game to be able to say if they're not getting it right, or if there's a high turnover rate, which we've probably seen in a lot of these games. 19 against the Waratahs, probably the best against the Reds, but previously against Argentina, massive error rate. So if you're wanting to be able to put teams under pressure, you've got to put their skill set under pressure. And they're making turnovers, being able to do that. So if they're going to be passive, then that turnover rate's probably going to go a little bit down, because their skill set's so good in terms of the 3v4, the 4v3, the block plays that when they do get it right, it's really hard to read. So I just think Joe Smith and that defensive group have just got to be able to think of a way. Yes, the collision area probably close to the ruck is going to be really important, because then that stunts that momentum. You're able to get your line set a little bit wider, the connectivity that you can have with your players, the talk between each other to be able to know who you're on. Because if they don't get that right, I think, like Jipper was saying, they can kick. Finn Russell can put a kick across. They can do a little attacking kicks, whether from its 9 to most of their back line through 15. And then they've also got, you know, probably their set piece as well. Jip, that scrum penalty they did have against the Waratahs was probably the difference. But I know it's a young, inexperienced Waratahs team, but to still have that set piece dominance would be good for Andy Farrell to get that.
I'll tell you what, if Jamison Gibson-Park and Finn Russell get 77% lightning quick ball, it's good night nerves.
100%.